So again, my name is Kayla Priest. My role here at CINC is on our CINC Live team, meaning that when I am able to be in person, I am training at CINC University in Atlanta or all across the country at CINC 2U, where we take our course on the road. Other times when I'm in the office, I am hosting webinars and creating the content that you receive at training, moderating our Facebook group, doing lots of little things, which over the past 3.5 years since I've been at CINC has given me the opportunity to talk to many of our top producing teams and really finding out what they all do in common and pulling those out as best practices that I get to share then with all of you. So I want to go ahead and take a quick look at the Q&A, things that you guys are sending in that you would like to talk about. Marvin from Reno just said hi all. Hi Marvin, welcome welcome to the webinar today. So let's see. Dee Dee's asking how many times we should call leads to the best cadence for connecting. We've got Violetta from Miami. Hello, welcome. And then Mike is asking for some objection help. We're going to wait until after the holidays to buy a home. That's awesome. So anything else like that, any questions that you have, objections, things you want to work on, put those in the Q&A and we will go through them one by one. So I can work that objection and that cadence question in as we get started with some slides. And sometimes when we start with some slides, it'll kind of get your motor running. It'll get your brain moving and kind of help you think of some of those questions that you might want to touch on while we're together today. If we've got time at the end, we will do a live role play. So someone that is brave enough to come off of mute and role play with me as the buyer, we will get to that as well. If you have never been to one of these webinars, it's really free form. I want to cover what you came here for. So I do have some things prepared, but if we need to go sideways to cover what you need, that's what we'll do. So let's go ahead and just start with the opening line. So this is kind of the place where, all our phone calls start. So it makes sense for us to start here. And then this might kind of help you think of some of those other questions that you might want to talk about. So when I'm talking about prospecting, I'm talking about calling leads that you have never spoken to before. So these are leads that have been on your site maybe just one day, maybe just 1 hour, maybe 1 minute. They can be brand new. Or it can be leads that have been on the site for a little longer and they've either never answered the phone for us, we've never had a conversation with them, or maybe originally we had a conversation with them, but then they ghosted us, and now we're trying to kind of reel them back in again. So this opening line is tried and true. And by that, I mean, this opening line has been developed over the past 7-8 years of CINC hosting training. And it comes from real agents using this in the field and giving us feedback where we tweaked and changed until it was perfect. So a lot of times when I hear from agents, objections that they get a lot, those objections can really be cut down on if you use the right opening line. So what this opening line does is it introduces yourself, but then right away, it gets us back to talking about the lead, focusing on the lead. Because a mistake that some agents make is talking about themselves too much or giving too much information away. I'm not saying that we want to be dishonest, but we want to quickly introduce ourselves, but not give too much away, but then immediately get back to asking the lead a question. So Christina sent in that she has trouble. She has not been able to get past someone saying just browsing, just browsing, just browsing. Christina, I'm going to teach you how, because we actually love when leads say they're just browsing, because that's where every lead starts. Right? They go to Google, for example, they type in CINC's in Marietta. So that would be my example city for today. They'll type in homes for sale in Marietta, maybe homes for sale in Marietta with a pool, homes for sale in Marietta near the Marietta Square. Whatever they're looking for, they're going to start on typically on Google, type that in. They're going to get an ad with your CINC site on it. They're going to click that. They're going to find the home that they want to look at. Then they're going to give you their information. So I have to ask you this. Do you think a lead that truly was not interested in buying a home, whether tomorrow or 6 months from now or a year from now, would go through all those steps just to actually not be interested? No, they never would. They specifically went looking for something, they found it on your site, and they gave you their information. So when they say they're just browsing, we know that they are like 99% of other leads, and they're just at the very beginning of their home search, just getting started, and they just need some advice on what the next step's going to be. So let's talk about this opening line, because this does will set you up perfectly. So it's all about tonality, right? If I call my husband on the way home from like a bad day at the office, I'm going to have a different tonality than when I'm talking to a lead. When I'm doing a webinar with you guys, I'm talking differently than when I call my mom on the phone, right? So you have to match the tonality for what you're doing. So it's all about showcasing some excitement, but being real. So practicing is perfect, but we have to practice consistently. And that's what part of this webinar is for. Continue this and in your office and with your agents and with your friends that are agents, so you can practice and get that tonality and the cadence right. This is what it should sound like. Hi, this is Kayla from the home search site. I saw you were looking at homes in Marietta. Are you looking to move in the next 3 to 6 months, or are you just browsing? And since we are in some kind of weird COVID times, we could say, are you looking to move in the next 6 to 12 months? Or are you looking to move in the next few months? Or are you just browsing? Notice I just introduced myself with my first name, Kayla, from the home search site. I didn't say from findhomesinMariettaGeorgiaRightNow.com, because we know that leads typically sign up on multiple sites, Zillow, realtor.com, other CINC sites, whatever it may be. So they don't typically know what website you're calling from. And we can give them an objection right there by them just then saying, oh, well, I've actually never heard of that site. And then what are you supposed to do? Call them a liar because we have their information in front of us? We would never do that. So we just keep it generic, the home search site. And then we're immediately going to say, I saw you were looking at some homes in Marietta. So if you feel comfortable saying, I saw you were looking at some homes in Marietta, make this your own. You can add little words if you need to make it flow with your speech, but it should not deviate from this template. So, hi, this is Kayla from the home search site. I saw you were looking at some homes in Marietta. And then we can even throw in a, hey, I'm just curious, are you looking to move in the next few months, or are you just browsing? And Christina, you hit the nail on the head. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, yeah, I'm just browsing. And we love that, because now we know that they're at the beginning of their home search and they're at a good point for us to talk to them. So if someone says they're just browsing, I'm immediately going to say, oh, that's great. That's exactly what the site is for. I'm curious. And then we're going to ask some open-ended questions. And I want to actually show you some questions. Oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Is my favorite. But I probably wouldn't start asking that question right after someone says they're just browsing. So I might say, oh, awesome. What interests you about Marietta? So if someone says, yeah, I'm just browsing right now, or yeah, I'm just seeing what's out there. Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what the site is for. So tell me, what interests you about Marietta? We can even say, oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what the site is for. Hey, what's your current situation like? We can say, oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what the site is for. Tell me, what exactly are you looking for? And we ask follow-up questions. We ask about their search. We ask about what they're looking for. We can ask about their current situation. What's most important is that we engage, we sound interested, and we ask. So when someone says that I'm just browsing, I don't consider that an objection. I'm just browsing is not an objection, okay? It is simply them saying, I'm at the beginning of my home search, and this is an awesome time for you to get started with them. So asking follow-up questions is super important. So if someone did say, yeah, I actually need to move in the next 6 months, that's a different conversation, right? We can say, oh, that's amazing. Why the next 6 months? I want you to think about these leads as if they're your friends. And it can seem kind of pokey at first, but follow me. If this was your best friend on the phone saying that they're starting to browse for their next home, what would you say to them? How would you advise them? What kind of questions would you ask to find out how you could help them best. I call that the best friend rule. I stole it from another trainer at CINC, Eric Grabner. He's been with us from the very beginning, but I love it because it's true. Because a lot of times we build up this fear about calling leads because we don't know them, we don't know what to say, and we feel weird about it. We think that we have to have the whole call scripted out. But truly, when you boil it down, it is simply just a conversation. And we're going to give and take, give and take. We're going to ask questions and listen, ask questions and listen. We actually do more damage when we try to tell everything. When we say, well, what are you looking for? A home with a garage. Well, there's not very many homes with garages in this area because, the area, they're a little older, so they're mostly carports, and that's not what we want to do. We don't want to tell, we want to ask. So if someone says they're interested in a garage, we're going to say, oh, that's interesting. Why is that? Or, oh, I love that. Why is a garage important to you? And we're simply asking to dive deeper. Now, John Marone, that typically hosts these, has a great way to think of that. He calls it going 3 whys deep. So what that means is when someone gives me a reason for something, I'm not just going to immediately blow past it and say, oh, you want 4 bedrooms? Well, how many bathrooms? Because at this point, I don't know why the 4 bedrooms are important to them. So I'm going to stay in that 4-bedroom conversation until I really understand why. So let's kind of back up and let's say that, I asked the lead, are you looking to move in the next few months or just browsing? And they say, yeah, I'm just looking to see what's out there right now. Oh, awesome. That's exactly what the site is for. Tell me, what exactly are you looking for? And the lead might say, oh, I'm actually looking for, a 4-bedroom home, with a big yard. Oh, okay, 4 bedrooms. Great. Why is that? Why 4? And then we might hear them say, well, it's me and my spouse, and we've got 2 children, and we really need an extra room for a home office. Oh, a home office. Are you guys working from home now? And then you might say, yeah, my husband and I actually are both working from home, and we're both working from the dining room table right now. And let's stay in that. Oh my gosh, both working from the dining room table. Wow, I can't imagine. How is that going? And they're probably going to say, you know what, not good. We have to do, Zoom calls at the same time or conference calls at the same time. And, we don't have enough room. There's no storage. Wow. Okay. So 4 bedrooms so we can get you that home office. Awesome. So would one of you work in that home office or would both of you? And maybe we find out that they don't even need 4 bedrooms. Maybe they need a home that has, 3 bedrooms and a bonus room and a basement. But we're asking that question and we're digging in deep. Because if we just said, oh, 4 bedrooms, great, how many bathrooms? We wouldn't have actually been able to solve their real problem, because their real problem is they need more space for office space. And we would have never known that if we had just blown on. Now, if you're currently having conversations where you truly are just saying, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? Okay, what school district? Okay, do you want a yard or not? Do you want HOA or not? Do you want, a pool or not? Do you want this or that? Do you want this or that? It will feel strange to wrap your brain around this new type of conversation. But I promise you, doing this lets you know the lead's real motivation. And no other agent in your area is going to be diving this deep to find out the lead's motivation. When we can find out the lead's motivation, we find out how we can actually truly help them solve their problem. Maybe it's that they have elderly parents moving in with them and they need a master on the main for them, or they need an in-law suite, or they need a stepless ranch, or whatever it may be. But if we just asked, do you want 1 story or 2, and they say 1 story, and we say, great, how many bedrooms? We would have never known that they need a really big open dining room, because now there are essentially 2 families, multi-generational families, living in this house. So you have to dive deep, and you cannot be afraid to ask those questions. What it does is it sets you apart from everyone else that's really just going down the list and checking off and saying, okay, well, I'm going to, start sending you some emails with homes that match this. Call me if you need anything. Because what we're going to do instead is we are going to take that information that we learned and use that to help us in our close. So after we've learned all this, my husband and I are both working at the dining room table. We need office space. We're on top of each other. The kids are sharing a bathroom. They're getting older. It's not working very, well anymore. When I find all of that out, I'm going to use it to help me close. Not only have I been using it up to this point to, number one, genuinely be interested in getting to know this lead, but also building massive rapport with them because I'm diving way deeper than any other agent's going to. I also use it to do a little bit of an emotional close. So I'm going to say something like this, and this is when your tonality is huge. We're going to sound empathetic. We're going to sound like I'm the person who can help you solve your problem. So it's okay, and let's say I'm talking to the lead, Gina. I'm going to say, okay, Gina, let me ask you this. If I was able to find you that, 4-bed, 3-bath house that's got that nice bonus room and basement, to get you and your husband your own office spaces so you can have your own calls in your peace and quiet. If I could find you that, would you consider moving sooner? You could even throw in there, if I could find you that, for the right price and, the right time frame for you, would you consider moving sooner? And what we're essentially doing now is taking that information. So we're repeating it to them. They know that we heard and understood because we're repeating it to them, what's most important to them. And we're saying, if I could find you that for the right price and the right time frame, would you consider moving sooner? We're giving them the opportunity to give us one final objection, or most likely they're going to say, yeah, absolutely. Because you've essentially said, if I could tick all those boxes and find you exactly what you're looking for the right price and the right time frame, would you consider, just going for it? Most people are going to say yes, but maybe you hear someone that says, well, we really need to list our house before we move. And I'm not really sure what needs to be done to it to put it on the market. Awesome. You guys know exactly how to handle that. Okay, well, the next step there then would be for me to come give you a, professional evaluation and give you some advice on some things that you could do to, spruce it up to get it ready for the market that will get you the most bang for your buck. How does that sound? Write that down too. That's really powerful. How does that sound? Or sound good? Getting their verbal agreement. Because most people at that point would say, yeah, that sounds good. Maybe someone says, I really need to save for a down payment. Okay, well, have you spoken to a lender yet? Because I work with a really great person who's got some awesome programs for reduced down payments. How does that sound? They're going to say, yeah, sounds good. Maybe they say, my credit kind of needs some help. Same thing. You guys know exactly how to handle that. So this question is really powerful because it's going to open up for someone saying, I did say I was going to move after the holidays, but if you could find me that sooner, then yeah, I'd go for it. So Mike, that one's for you. You can ask this question, and because Mike's question was, the objection he hears is we're going to wait until after the holidays to buy a home. So if you could find them exactly what they're looking for before then, so they could spend the holidays in their new home, would they be interested? Now, if they truly say, you know what, no, we want to have one more, Christmas or Hanukkah, or we want to have one more New Year's Eve party here with, with our neighborhood friends before we move, then what's the harm in them waiting, right? Because that's not really an objection. That's just a time frame thing. But you can ask this, and it's really powerful. If I could find you exactly what you're looking for the right price and the right time frame, would you consider moving sooner? That's really powerful for people who seem like they're maybe dragging their feet a little bit. So let me scroll through and see if we have any other questions. Ooh, I'll share this kind of anecdote from Gary, who's in Canada. So Gary says he wants to mention the leads in the system long term. We have one that we spoke with right after we took on CINC 2 years ago. 604 days in, the lead reached out, first time buyer, ready to go now. Jake and Gina, who are on Gary's team, are showing her homes today. That's awesome. Congrats, guys. Key is always communicate. CINC is the perfect recipe for long-term nurtures and of course, short-term too. Awesome, Gary. I love that. Send that in. If you're still working with Jay, or send that in to her and let's take a look at that lead. Maybe we'll have to post about her about her on social media. Yeah, it's awesome. It's all about being consistent, right? Just because someone doesn't quite engage with us right away doesn't mean that they never will. So Brett asked the question, is the conversion rate higher during the first minute of someone signing up versus within an hour? Let me see if I can pull a little stat and show you something. So has anyone ever seen the inside sales best practices for lead response management? Thanks for bearing with me as I searched for that and tried to talk at the same time. This, Brett, might help your question a little bit. I'm going to scroll down to response time. Now you can Google and find this. Just Google inside sales best practices for lead response management. So look at this response time graph here. So what this study looked at was online leads and their response to agents reaching out to them. So we can see that we have contacts made from first dials. This is number of contacts here on the vertical axis. And then we have response times. This is how long the agent took to reach out for that first time on this horizontal axis. So we can see that the highest response time was within the first 5 minutes. So as we see, there's a steep drop off at 10 minutes, and then it's almost non-existent out at 30 minutes. This is not to say that every single lead is going to answer you right away, right? That would be awesome. And if you find a way to get everyone to answer the first time you call them right away, please let me know how you do it, because I've been trying and I can't. It's just human nature, right? Some people are never going to answer a phone call from a number that they don't recognize. So that's totally fine. It's all about being persistent, which is what the number 4 graph here shows us. This persistence graph here shows us that actually we have the highest chance of making contact on the 6th dial. So this also will kind of help with Dee Dee's question. Dee Dee asked, how many times should we call leads? What's the best cadence for connecting with leads? So this is saying that there's no silver bullet, right? There's no right or wrong, absolutely have to do this every single time. But what we do need to do is call as quickly as possible. That being said, if you're in an appointment when a lead comes in and you're not able to call them right away, but you see the new lead notification come in after, call them as soon as you can. If they come in at midnight, I'm not saying call them at midnight, but call them first thing the next morning. If you don't get them on that first call, it's absolutely fine. You have to be persistent. I'm sure that lead that Gary shared about that's been in the site 604 days, they probably called her more than 6 times. We actually recommend, for that very reason, not leaving a voicemail on the first few dials. So we actually recommend calling at least 6 times before we leave a voicemail, but I would even say maybe call 10 times before we leave a voicemail. And why is that? It's kind of in our nature now not to listen to voicemails. A lot of people just read the transcript and say, oh, I'm not really into talking to an agent right now. And so they will ignore you. So we never want to put the ball in the lead's court and hope that they'll send it back to us. We always want to be in control of this situation. So it's important that we don't leave a voicemail right away, because then they can say, oh, every time I see that number call, I'm not going to answer. So we actually don't want to leave a voicemail in the first 6 to 10 calls. But I do not think there is anything wrong with calling someone 20 times, 30 times. As long as they are actively using your site and you're using your P filters and they keep showing up in there, keep calling them. Because you never know when someone decides, hey, now's the time for me. Using the P filters is really important for your cadence too. So using the P filters in the site, P for prospecting, those are really important. If you're not currently using those, give me a quick no in the Q&A so I can see if we maybe need to do a little bit of a deeper dive there. So we've gotten a couple of objections about we're staying put until COVID blows over. Okay, so this is a big one because, as we know, it's pretty valid. Some people are afraid to buy in a time when they feel like maybe the market's about to shift. Some people say, well, there was that housing crisis in 2008. I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to be in a new house and then it lose all of its value. Maybe they say, I don't want to do anything until after the election or after we have a COVID vaccine or whatever it may be. So you've got a couple different ways to handle that. One of my favorite things is to let them know what the market is doing right now. Now, I'm kind of breaking my own rule because earlier I told you we don't want to tell. But I think it is important to educate people. And so you can say, know your stats for your area, know how many, how long houses are, days on market is what I'm trying to say. Know your average days on market. Know how many months of inventory you have, know what housing prices have done over the past few months. Because as we know, working in real estate is that real estate never really stopped. People will always need to buy and sell and move, right? Sometimes they have to do it for work. Sometimes it's because their space no longer works for them. Whatever the reason, people will always need to buy and sell. So ask them, well, I actually have some, data that I can share with you because the market is actually moving really quickly. But I would probably start just by asking why. So they say, well, we really want to get, stay put until COVID is over. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I understand. Why is that? And I'm only going to say I understand because I do. I don't know exactly what's going on with them and their home life and their situation. So I'm going to say, okay, I understand that. Why is that? And maybe they say, well, there's just too much uncertainty. Well, I don't know what the housing market's going to do. I don't know what the stock market's going to do. Okay, yeah, I completely understand. So let me tell you this. And that's another really great intro you can write down. Let me tell you this. And then you can tell them, well, we've actually seen how, the days on market has really shrunk over the past few months. And by that, I mean that houses are not staying on the market very long. They actually, on average, are selling, 17 days. So, houses and really great houses are going super fast. So let me ask you this. What exactly are you looking for? And I'm just going to redirect it back to what they're looking for. If they say, that there's just so much uncertainty, you can say, well, let me ask you this. What do you think housing prices are going to do over the next year? Do you think they're going to increase or decrease? And you might have them give you an answer. They might say, I don't really know. And so you can say, okay, well, what I know is that over the past 3 months, 6 months, whatever, housing prices have increased X percentage. So you'd be spending more money, waiting until like mid next year than you could if you, were to move a little sooner. Does that make sense? And so you're essentially educating them, not pushing them, but making sure that they're making an educated decision, which is the most important thing. So let me know if you need a little bit more help with that one. That is really how I would attack it. And if anyone on the call has a line or a tactic that they've used for that one over the past few months that's really worked well for them, go ahead and share that with us in the Q&A and I'll read it out for everyone. So let's see, I've got some people saying that they are not using the P filter. So we'll definitely talk about that closer to the end. Okay, so Lauren has a good question. What about when they say they want something affordable? Do we just come out and ask what is affordable to you? You can say, oh yeah, I completely understand. I love a good deal too. I'm curious, what's your target budget? And it's all about your tonality then, and just make it relatable, right? Oh my gosh, yeah, I love looking for a good bargain hunt. I'm curious, what's the ideal price range for you? I think that's totally fine. If they bring up wanting something affordable, I think it's totally fine to ask them, what their target price point is. I think you can educate them. Do you see a lot of homes hitting the market for that? Do you see homes, do you see homes hitting the market in that price point that generally need some rehab? So you can actually say, there are quite a few homes on the market at that price point, but I noticed that a lot of them are going to need a little bit of work before you move in. How do you feel about a fixer-upper? Make sure those are open-ended questions, not do you like fixer-uppers or do you like projects? How do you feel about them is the right way to go about that. Ooh, and Melissa says she asked if they're available for a video call. She sells virtually. I love that. She says it's very easy and no contact. Absolutely. Let them know that you can meet virtually. Absolutely. So Lisa's asking a good question. What is your opinion when the lead says, I'll be ready in the new year? What kind of reminder do I set? Also, what if they want the alerts less frequently and say they won't be ready for a while? So for both of these, if I've had a good conversation with someone, I want to set a reminder no more than 30 days out. That can be a reminder to email them, to text them, to call them. So if someone says they're going to be ready in the new year, I'm still following up with them periodically every 30 days or so. So I stay top of mind and I continue to build that relationship with them. If they want the alerts less frequently, that's super easy. In their saved search, you can change the engagement and set it to send, 2 or 3 times a week, once a week, whatever they request. So even if they're a few months out, I'm still staying in touch with them every 30 days or so, continuing to build rapport, continuing to build a relationship. So when they are ready to go, they don't think, who is that person I had a conversation with 6 months ago? I don't really remember. I'm going to ask my friend who they used last year. So that might actually help with the question up above. Creative ways to follow up with nurtures without saying a generic opening line like just calling to follow up, and close that next step if a buyer or seller appointment is not logical to set. So this is when I love to pitch it to you guys. How are you doing your follow-up calls? Are you also doing follow-up texts and emails? And what are you saying? I would love to share some of that with the rest of the group. Now, for me, if I'm, kind of I don't want to say the same thing every time. I have taken great notes, right, with every lead that I've spoken to. So I know if we went to the same high school, I know if they love to stop at the coffee shop that's next to my office. I know what they love to do, right? We probably have some details for them. We can also cheat sometimes and call and say, hey, I know that you're not looking to move for the next few months, but I saw this house that I think you'll just really love, and I want to email it to you. So go ahead and take a look at it and tell me what you think. It can literally just be I was thinking about you because I passed that coffee shop and I know you mentioned that you love their lattes. Or, I know that you said that your son was going to school virtually. And I know they just announced that they're going to take them back in person 3 days a week. How are you feeling about that? Whatever it is, right? What would you call and talk to your friend about? So maybe we go on a soft best friend role for this, because we wouldn't want to talk and say, hey girl, do you want to go party? No, but we can talk about different things. It doesn't have to be a just calling to follow up every time. So I'm going to, of course, keep the Q&A open for anyone that wants to add additional things in there on what they say when they are calling to follow up. So Christina's asking about an objection that I hear often. I just want to do it, or, I want to do the home search myself, and I'll reach out if I have any questions or want to see something. You can say, totally understand, and, I don't want to keep you long. But just to make sure that the emails I'm going to send you are exactly what you're looking for, tell me, are you looking for 3 or 4 bedrooms? And I'm not really giving them an out. And that one takes practice. You just say, okay, I completely understand. I don't want to keep you too long, but to make sure I'm sending you the best homes in your email, are you looking for 3 or 4 bedrooms? And no, I'm going to set a reminder to follow up anyway. So I just don't let them get away with that. I don't ever say, okay, call me if there's anything I can do, because you'll never hear from that person again. I'm always the one doing the follow up. So Dee Dee says, what about only working with pre-approved people? I think there's definite two schools here, right? Some agents require that you have to be pre-approved before they will go out and show you homes. Others will maybe show you 1 home, 2 homes, 3 homes before you have to show that you're pre-approved. So does anyone here have a strong stance on either side about working only with pre-approved or being a little more lax? Help Dee Dee out and send some information in. Let us know how you feel about that. So Katrina said, what do you say when they respond to the virtual tour question with, I prefer to look in person. I can't imagine purchasing a home I haven't seen. This is, again, all in tonality. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I totally understand. I thought it was so bizarre, but it totally works for some people who maybe are out of town or, can't quite get out and look very often. But I'd love to go in person and show you anything you're interested in. So we can go ahead and let them know, hey, it works for some people, but it doesn't have to work for you. Now, if you are in an area where they are possibly still restricting showings, of course you have to follow those local guidelines, and you can say, I completely understand. I prefer to look in person too. We do have a regulation right now saying XYZ, so we will get out and look in person as much as we can. It's all in your tonality, and it's all about having that conversation, right? If your friend said, girl, I could not imagine buying a house I hadn't seen in person, what would you say to them? Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be so crazy to me. So let's go look in person, right? So it's all about having that friendly conversation. Let's see, I've got some people saying, Melissa says, I talk about my cooking adventures as a new wife, and they always have stories to share. So it's a soft story. I like that. Lisa, I will get a good vibe first, and then I'd show them to build rapport. Okay. So yeah, so in terms of if you're going to do pre-qual or not, she will get a good vibe going first, and then I'd show them to build rapport. I like that. Heather will only work with pre-qual. She knows what she wants. Coral says, I usually pre-qual them over the phone for strengths to buy to ultimately speaking and or completing the financial steps for qualification, then show whether they have the approval now or later. So that's kind of in the middle. I like that. Lauren says, I've gotten several clients that were not pre-approved. We have a 1 free look policy. It's my job to help them on the path to pre-approval. Then you get to guide them to local lenders that your past clients have worked with. I love that. Marvin says 1 to 2 homes is the most I will show without them getting a hold of a lender. In our area, sellers won't look at an offer unless a pre-approval is attached. So Marvin will show 1 to 2, and then they have to be in touch with the lender. Melissa, I give everyone a freebie. 1 day not approved. Once I meet them in person and get them warm and fuzzy, then I go hard to pre-approve. I love it. Thomas says, using common sense, I may agree to 1 showing appointment without a pre-approval, but I have my lender call them to get the ball rolling. So you're a little proactive with it. I like that. Awesome. That's all really helpful. Okay, so Coral sent in, and let's go back to our slides here. Coral asked this, the market is very high with multiple offers. I don't see these homes worth that high perceived value. So Coral, tell me, is that something that you're hearing from leads, that they feel like they're not seeing a good value? Things are a little too high priced? Okay. So that's difficult because value is different for every person, right? So I would ask them this, and I would actually say, okay, so let me ask you this. What do you consider a good value for your money? It's a nice open-ended question, and you might, have, because your definition of value and theirs might be a little different. So I'd say, okay, let me ask you this. What would make you feel like you had gotten a good value for your home? And it may be that they want high-end finishes. It may be that they want a lot of land. It may be that they want something that's like turnkey. It may be that they want something else, right? But I think it's important to ask them exactly what would feel valuable to them. So I would definitely ask that question and then let them know that, it's your job to steer them to homes that are, the best fit for them. So, it can be like part of my job as an agent is helping you sift through all the homes that are on the market and find the ones that, are really worthwhile to you. How does that sound? And just letting them know that's part of your job. Um, and that it's actually something you enjoy. I love hunting for that perfect fit for you guys. Okay, someone who is here as anonymous attendee says, I have a hard time transitioning from the 3 Ys to the appointment setting. What is the best way to transition into making an appointment, and what is an ideal appointment? So ideal appointment is literally going to be different for everyone. Some people, kind of like we were talking about prequel or no prequel. Some people absolutely require that they do a kind of buyer's or seller's consultation in their office. Once upon a time, it was maybe out at a coffee shop or, some other public place. Some people are now doing them virtually. But for some people, that appointment that they're asking for is that consultation where we're going to go back over what you're looking for, dive a little deeper into what you're looking for, talk about my strategy as an agent and my team strategy for helping you, find the best house for the best price. If it's a listing appointment, and obviously you're talking about your strategy for getting them top dollar and getting it sold as quickly as possible. But for most people, that's that ideal appointment. For some people, like we talked about, they may meet them out at a home for the first time and then maybe come back to the office to wrap up and get paperwork done. So it really just depends. The appointment set pipeline stage is for those people that you're having that consultation meeting with. So what's the best way to transition into making that appointment? So after you have gone through everything that they're looking for, kind of in our example before, the spouses are both working at the dining room table. They've got kids that are getting older and they're sharing a bathroom that's not working for them anymore. They need, space to work. They need, whatever it may be. As soon as you feel like you have a good feel for what they're looking for and you've built some rapport with them, meaning that if you called them in a couple of weeks, they would remember you because you really dove deep into what they were looking for. Once you feel like you have built some rapport with them, that's when you can transition to this. So this would be my transition. If I was again speaking with a lead named Gina, I would say like, okay, Gina, thank you so much for sharing all of this with me. It's been so nice chatting this afternoon. But let me ask you this. If I was to find you that 4-bed, 3-bath house with a bonus room and a basement that you could turn into those awesome workspaces for you and your husband, so you could finally get out of working on top of each other in your dining room. If I could find you that home for the right price and in the right time frame to get you moved, would you consider moving sooner? So that's it. It's simply that easy transition of, oh my gosh, Gina, thank you so much for sharing all this with me. It's been awesome getting to know you. So let me ask you this. And it's just changing that little tonality in your voice. So let me ask you this. And closing with what they're looking for. And if I could get that for you, would you consider moving sooner? So let's scroll through our questions here. Lori asking, when you follow up with a person you have talked to before and they do not pick up, what do you leave for a short message? This is where it's totally fine to leave a voicemail right away. When you're doing follow-ups with someone you've already spoken to, what would you leave in the voicemail? So this would be where I would say like, hi, Lori, it's Kayla from the home search site. We spoke a few weeks ago about, your home search in Marietta. I was calling because blank. So I'm calling because what? If we typically say I'm calling to follow up, so if there's anything I can help you with, give me a call back. You're not going to get a call back. So I like to say something like, I'm calling because I saw this amazing home that I think fits exactly what you're looking for. And I just wanted to know how you wanted me to send that to you. Should I email it or text it to you? Give me a call or text me back and let me know. But it has to be because you have something valuable for them. So if they told you that they had poor credit, maybe it's, I want to send you, information on this program for, lower credit score requirements. If they were saving for a down payment, I wanted to send you this awesome course that I found. You can just have some of those like in your back pocket where you have like a slide deck that you can send them or something similar. So leave them with a little something valuable instead of just saying, if it's just following up, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. Give them a reason to want to get back in touch with you. So Dee Dee says, I have had a CINC lead looking at 500K or higher homes, but I believe maybe they won't sign or they won't show proof of funds. So best way to get a high dollar person to show proof of funds. You can kind of fib a little bit and say, before we go look at homes, the sellers typically require to see proof of funds before they will let us schedule a showing. So go ahead and send that to me when you've got it. Or I'll work with the lender to get that before we schedule those appointments. That's honestly the best way. If they're looking at a higher priced home, they would probably respect that it's something that the seller is requiring. So I would use that. And a lot of times the sellers do actually require that. So I would just let them know. So anonymous, if they say they have a realtor and give a realtor's name, what do you do? Of course, we don't want to poach anyone's clients, right? So if they do give us a name and they say they're already working with this person, I would, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering why they're on my site instead of their agent's site. But I just let them know, if you would like to continue to use my site, I would love for you to. I'm going to send you an email just to follow up. So if you do ever need another person to work with, you've got my contact information. And I would just send them a quick email saying, thanks so much for your time today. Here's my cell phone number if there's ever any way I can help you. And then I might set a reminder to check in on them in maybe like 2 or 3 months, or maybe even a month, just to check in to see if they're still using the site. And if they are still using the site, then I might send them an email with a home in it saying, I saw this and I just, thought this might be something you were interested in, or, wanted to get your feedback on my new listing, and see if you can kind of open the door for communication. Because just because they give us a name doesn't mean they are absolutely working with that person. Of course, there is a good chance that they might be. So we never want to, be too aggressive in those instances. But I would still follow up with them saying, in case you ever needed, to get in touch with me. And then I'm setting a reminder to, check to see if they're still using my site and, doing some like soft inquiries on them. So Melissa, I make the first showing a vacant, gorgeous home. This way we can chat and get to know one another. Of course, I offer masks, gloves, water, and hand sanitizer. That's awesome. So that way you can kind of stick around longer in that vacant home. I love that. Okay, so it looks like the last few questions we have are about the P filters. So let's actually do a little quick change of pace here. And I'm going to go into a training site. This is a live site, but we typically use it for training and testing. So this will let me show you the P filters that I was talking about earlier. Now, if you want to find out more about how to use the P filters, because we're almost out of time here, let me show you on the webinars page on CINC Community. There is this recording gallery at the bottom, and there are a ton of awesome recordings of past webinars here that will help you a little bit more with working the P filters, especially these that are about prospecting and following up. So highly recommend you check this out. There's a ton here. But what you'll find in those are our method for helping you prospect and follow up. So these saved filters here, now your list may look different than this because your team has the ability to create your own saved filters. But what CINC sets you up with to start are these 4 P filters and these 3 F filters. So when I was talking about the P filters earlier, this is essentially CINC's way of showing you easily who you need to call today, who you need to prospect. So P1 has everyone in the new lead pipeline stage, and we start here because these are new leads that need to get called right away. Once you had called everyone in your P filter, you would work your way down and click into P2. P2 are newer leads that are still in attempted contact. So as you can see in these little blue bubbles, registration date lasts 14 days, pipeline attempted contact. All this means is this is the criteria that CINC set up for this saved filter, for this P2 filter, meaning the leads in here are going to be newer on your site and we've never had a conversation because they're still in attempted contact. And so essentially what we've done with these P filters is created your to-do list. So basically you click, you call, you add notes, you move pipeline stages, you add reminders, you adjust the saved search, and then you move on to the next person. But it is your to-do list for prospecting. So P1, 2, and 3 are your daily call filters, meaning I log in, I have time blocked, hopefully between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. to do some prospecting calls. So let's say the clock strikes 8 o'clock in the morning. What do? I log into my system. I click into P1. I call all these people that are still in new lead. When I'm done with that, I go down my to-do list. I click into P2 and I call all my P2s. I go down and I click into P3. These are older but active leads that we've never spoken to. They've been on this site for at least 15 days, but it could be 1,500 days, depending on how old your site is. They've logged in the last 30 days and we've never spoken to them. So older but active leads. This is helping you pull out who do I need to pay attention to today. So for everyone who said that they were not currently using the P filters, add this into your workflow, because it will absolutely help you narrow down who you need to call instead of looking at a big list of people and wondering, uh-oh, I don't know where to start. So Lisa asked a question, how do you find the people that registered over 30 plus days ago? That is an easy one. We're going to use our filters for that. And we're going to do registration date. And then we can use these. We can say they registered over 30 days ago. So maybe we say 31, just like a long time ago. And we just use the filter for that, Lisa. So we don't have much time, so I cannot go super in depth here. That is why I showed you the webinars here. And make sure you check out the recording gallery. Tons of information in here for you to use. You're welcome, Lisa. Melissa says she goes to that from her dashboard, which is awesome. So if you do, you can even start here where you can see your reminders that are coming up for today. Wherever you go to it from, your prerogative, wherever you're more comfortable in starting. It all does the same thing. All right, everybody. With that being said, we are at 3:56, which means our time has come to an end. Gary is saying, thank you as always, Kayla. Gary, I appreciate you very much. I cannot wait until we can travel again as well. If you guys aren't aware, we were supposed to do our first training in several years in Toronto in March, right before COVID hit. And so that got canceled with a quickness. And I was so bummed because it was going to be my first time in Toronto. I was so excited. So I'm really looking forward to when we can be on the road and traveling again. Katrina said, thank you. Thank you, Katrina. I really, ooh, and Melissa and Kiva and Heather. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And Lisa, it's coming in too fast. I really appreciate you spending an hour with me. I really hope you're able to learn from today and really have some good takeaways. If I can leave you with anything, it's to be genuinely interested, ask lots of questions, and ask for the appointment. If you do not ask for the appointment, they will not give it to you. So it's really important to be genuinely interested. Ask lots of questions, dig deep, and make sure you follow up by asking for that appointment. Thank you to Coral and to Marvin as well. This will be up on that webinars page a little later in the week after we're able to do a little editing and get it up on YouTube. So if you do want to watch a replay, check there later. Please give us a call at CINC if there's ever anything we can do. Everyone at CINC is really dedicated to helping both agents on sites and our site owners reach their goals, and we're there to help do whatever we can to get you closer. So please give us a call and let us know if there's ever anything you need help with. That is what we are there for. Have a great week. Please let me know if you implement any of the things we talked about today and how it went. I would love to hear. Otherwise, this webinar is every other Monday. So we'll be off next week and back the following week. And I hope we will see you here again. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.